I poisoned my sister's eggnog that Christmas Eve, not with arsenic, but with the bitter truth she'd buried for a decade. As I watched her choke on the words I'd scripted in her own trembling hand, the room erupted in chaos, silverware clattering like gunfire. And in that moment, trapped in her skin, I finally tasted freedom, even if it reeked of her Chanel no.
5.
My name is Valerie Kane. Or, at least it used to be.
Now.
When I stare into the mirror, it's Evelyn's face, my older sister's, staring back. All sharp cheekbones and that perpetual smirk she weaponized like a loaded Beretta. It's been 3 months since the swap, and every morning I wake up in her king-sized bed in that McMansion she stole from me. I have to remind myself, this isn't a nightmare. It's my revenge. Slow, surgical, and sweeter than the tiramisu she pretends to love at those overpriced Italian joints in Greenwich. It started in the fall, back when leaves were turning the Connecticut suburbs into a postcard from hell. I was 32, fresh out of a decade-long marriage that ended not with a bang but a whimper. My husband,
Tom,
packing his golf clubs and banging the intern from his firm. But that was child's play compared to what Evelyn pulled. She wasn't just my sister. She was my shadow, the one who always arrived fashionably late to my milestones, only to eclipse them. College graduation? She got engaged the same weekend. My promotion to junior partner at the law firm? She accidentally leaked a client file that got me demoted. But the real gut punch, the betrayal that carved out my insides like a Thanksgiving turkey, came on a rainy Tuesday in October. I'd been handling pro bono work for a nonprofit. Nothing glamorous, just fighting evictions for families who'd lost everything in the '08 crash. One case stuck, a single mom, Maria, accused of embezzling from her employer's petty cash. The evidence was ironclad, forged checks in her name, timestamps from her login. But I dug deeper because that's what I do. I don't quit. Turns out, the real thief was Evelyn, my sainted sister, the golden child of Kane and Associates, our family's legacy law firm. She'd been skimming for years to fund her Botox habit and that pied a terre in the Hamptons. When the heat closed in,
she pinned it on me. Me,
the idiot little sister who'd been covering her ass since we were kids, signing off on her expense reports without a second glance. The board called me in that afternoon. Dad, stern, silver-haired Robert Kane, the firm's patriarch, sat at the head of the conference table, his face a mask of disappointment that hit harder than any gavel. Valerie, we've trusted you with everything, he said, sliding the dossier across the polished oak. My signature on every damning page. Evelyn stood behind him, eyes wide with feigned shock, her hand on his shoulder like the dutiful daughter she never was. I had no idea.
Daddy.
How could she? I didn't fight it.
Not then.
The evidence was a noose, tight and tailored. They fired me on the spot, froze my accounts, and by evening, the police were at my door with a warrant for fraud. I spent the night in a holding cell, the fluorescent buzz drilling into my skull, while Evelyn posted bail for herself, because of course she did, playing the victim in a tearful press release about family betrayal. But here's the hook they never saw coming. I didn't crack. I waited. And in the shadows of that jail cell, I remembered the old Kane family legend, the mirror of regrets, a creepy antique dad kept in the attic, supposedly cursed by some great-great-aunt who'd offed herself over a lover's scorn. We'd laughed it off as kids, Evelyn daring me to stare into it during sleepovers. Make a wish, Val, she'd whisper, her breath hot on my neck. Wish for my life. See what happens. I wished. God help me. I wished hard. The next morning, when the guards hauled me out for arraignment, I caught my reflection in the one-way glass.
And it wasn't me.
It was her. Evelyn's eyes, wide and terrified, blinking back at me. The swap was real. Impossible, but real. Science be damned, quantum weirdness or ancestral voodoo. I didn't care. I was in her body, and she was rotting in mine, facing the music I'd composed. First order of business, silence the storm. I called the cops from her phone, Evelyn Kane, concerned citizen, tipping them off to new evidence in her case. Planted a few digital breadcrumbs pointing back to the real culprit. By noon, the charges against Valerie were dropped, and Evelyn in my body was remanded for questioning. I watched from the courthouse steps, disguised in one of her designer trench coats, as they cuffed her. She screamed my name, her name now, frothing about body snatchers and witches. The press ate it up. Kane heiress loses in courtroom meltdown. I slipped back into her life like a ghost in silk stockings. Her apartment in Stamford was a shrine to excess. Marble counters, a sub-zero fridge stocked with artisanal cheeses, and a closet that could swallow Narnia. I practiced her laugh in the mirror, that throaty, conspiratorial chuckle that disarmed boardrooms and bedrooms alike. Tom, my ex, called that night, slurring from too much scotch. Ev, baby, heard about Val. Crazy bitch finally snapped. I purred back.
Oh.
Tommy, you have no idea, and hung up before he could suggest we catch up. The firm was trickier. Dad summoned Evelyn for a family meeting the next day, his office reeking of Cuban cigars and old money. Mom fluttered about with chamomile tea, her pearls clacking like worry beads. Poor Valerie, she sighed. What will become of her? Evelyn, sipped demurely. We'll get her help. Mother. The best shrinks money can buy. Dad nodded, pride swelling in his chest. That's my girl. Always the rock. Inside, I was screaming. This man, who'd built an empire on loopholes and lies, had let his favorite daughter frame the other without a blink. But I played along, signing the papers that transferred my old caseload to me, the imposter in county lockup. Evelyn was pleading insanity now, babbling about mirrors and swaps. The judge ordered psych evals. I made sure the report painted her as delusional, a danger to herself and society. By week's end, she was committed to a private facility upstate, Bellevue's country cousin, where the wealthy go to forget. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a marathon in Louboutins. I started small. Froze her my credit cards, citing identity concerns after this scandal. Donated her designer wardrobe to a shelter in my old name, watching the tabloids coo over Valerie Kane's generous heart from behind bars. And Tom? I strung him along with late-night texts, then ghosted him mid-affair, leaving him with a Venmo charge for Plan B and a restraining order. But the real wound festered in the family. Christmas loomed like a guillotine, the Kane annual blowout at the Greenwich estate. Dad's tradition, turkey, toast, and tolerance of each other's sins under the mistletoe. This year, I'd make it unforgettable. I'd pay for the feast, not with money, but with the secrets Evelyn had buried deeper than Jimmy Hoffa. As November bled into December, I dug. Her laptop held the keys, encrypted folders labeled contingencies, emails to offshore accounts, payoffs to witnesses in Maria's case. But the crown jewel? Dad's cancer diagnosis. Hidden from Mom and me. Evelyn knew 6 months ago. From intercepting his oncologist's calls. She'd leveraged it, blackmailed him into signing over firm equity, promising discretion in exchange for silence. Family first, her note read. Hypocrite. I printed it all, tucking the dossier into a red velvet stocking like a lump of coal. 3 weeks to the dinner. Plenty of time to rehearse my lines in her voice. The swap had side effects. Nightmares where our souls tangled like Christmas lights. Her whispers echoing. Give it back.
Val.
This isn't you. But it was. Sharper. Meaner. American as apple pie a la mode with a cyanide cherry. By mid-December, the family buzzed with pity for poor Val, institutionalized and medicated. Mom sent care packages. I intercepted them, swapping out the lavender soaps for laxatives. For her digestion, I told the nurse. Evelyn's smile plastered on my face. Dad buried himself in work, oblivious to the vulture in his daughter's plumage. Tom showed up at the firm holiday party, drunk and desperate.
Ev.
Let's run away. Screw this cane circus. I leaned in, lips brushing his ear. Darling, the circus is just starting. Then I kneed him in the groin and walked away to Jingle Bells, the crowd parting like the Red Sea. As snow dusted the estate's manicured lawns, I wrapped the final gift, a USB drive with audio of Evelyn confessing, my voice. Her words, recorded in a sound booth I'd rented under a fake name. I framed her.
Dad. For the money.
For the power. Lies she never spoke, but truth in spirit. Christmas Eve dawned crisp and cruel. I slipped into the estate early, Evelyn's heels clicking on the herringbone floors. Mom hugged me, her tight. You look peaked.
Dear.
Everything all right? I forced the smirk. Just the holidays. Mother. They bring out the ghosts. The table was set for 12. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all orbiting Dad's gravitational pull. Tom slunk in late, eyes darting to me like a moth to flame. I ignored him, pouring wine with a steady hand. The turkey arrived golden and groaning, sides of cranberry relish and green bean casserole steaming in the chill. Dad raised his glass. To family. Through thick and thin. Eyes met mine, his proud, mine predatory. I clinked, the crystal singing like a siren's call. Then, as dessert carts rolled in, I stood. A toast of my own, I said, voice honeyed venom. To truths long buried, the room hushed. I pulled the stocking from my purse, dumping its contents onto the damask cloth, papers fluttering like fallen snow. The USB glinting under the chandelier. Valerie didn't embezzle. I did. Gasps rippled. Mom's hand flew to her throat. Dad's face drained of color. The words hung in the air like smoke from a misfired shotgun, thick and choking. Evelyn's voice, my borrowed timbre, crackled with the weight of revelation, and for a split second, I savored the symmetry. Here we were, the Kane clan, dressed in our Sunday best for a Wednesday slaughter. Forks poised midair over pecan pie. Tom's jaw unhinged like a cartoon wolf, Aunt Lydia's pearls threatened mutiny. I framed her, I continued, pacing the length of the table, Evelyn's hips swaying with theatrical grace. Every check, every timestamp. Valerie took the fall because she's the good one, the one who always cleans at my messes. But not this time. Dad's fork clattered against porcelain. Evelyn. What the hell is this? Some joke. His voice boomed, the patriarch's bark that once silenced courtrooms. But there was a tremor, the kind that comes from chemo and cover-ups. I slid the dossier toward him, pages splaying open to highlighted emails. Dad. The diagnosis stays between us. Sign the shares, or Mom reads the full report. His eyes bulged, veins mapping fury across his forehead. You blackmailed me? Your own father, Mom whimpered, clutching her napkin like a lifeline. Robert? Diagnosis? What diagnosis? The room fractured then. Shards of denial and accusation flying. Uncle Frank, red-faced from bourbon, slammed his fist. This is libel.
Sue her ass. Bob.
Cousins whispered into phones, live tweeting the implosion under King Christmas curse. Tom lurched to his feet, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. Ev. Baby.
Sit down.
You're drunk. He reached for my arm, Evelyn's arm, and I twisted away, grabbing the USB. Drunk?
No. Tommy.
Enlightened. Listen. I plugged it into the sideboard's smart speaker. The one Alexa chirped carols from all season. Her voice, mine, damning, filled the space. I did it for us.
Dad.
The firm needed a strong hand. Valerie was weak. Gasps morphed to outrage. Mom sobbed openly now, mascara rivers carving canyons down her cheeks. Dad staggered up, face ashen as the snow outside. Get out. All of you out. But I wasn't done. Not by half. This was the appetizer. The main course was the body in the upstate loony bin, clawing at walls inscribed with my name. I let the chaos crest. Relatives piling coats over confusion, Tom muttering threats of lawyers I'd countersue into oblivion. As the last guest fled into the flurry, Mom cornered me in the foyer.
Why?
Evelyn? Why now? Her eyes, so like mine, or mine like hers, pleaded for the daughter she thought she knew. Guilt flickered, a candle in a hurricane. This woman had sung me lullabies, bandaged knees from bike wrecks. But she'd chosen Evelyn every time, the prom queen over the bookworm, the socialite over the scholar. Because someone had to, I whispered, Evelyn's lilt cracking just enough to sell it. Valerie suffered for my sins. It's time I paid. She crumpled then, folding into my arms, her traitor's embrace. Dad watched from the stairs, hollowed out, the Emperor's sans clothes. We'll fix this, he rasped. Lawyers. The best. I nodded, helping Mom to the couch, tucking a throw over her like a shroud. Of course, Daddy. Family first. By dawn, the estate was a tomb, twinkling lights mocking the wreckage. I drove Evelyn's Tesla back to Stamford, radio crooning Silent Night, as if to soothe the savage in the dash cam's glow. My phone, her phone, buzzed with alerts, stocks tumbling. Headline screaming, Kane empire crumbles, daughter confesses fraud. Phase 2, the cleanup. I lawyered up with the firm's top gun, a shark named Harlan who'd once called me the future.
Now.
He fawned over Evelyn, drafting motions to exhume Valerie from the psych ward. Insanity plea won't hold, he assured over espresso at a Soho cafe. We'll get her out. Prove coercion. Coercion.
Cute.
If only he knew the coercion was metaphysical. A mirror's malice binding souls across bloodlines. I'd visited myself once, under the guise of sisterly concern. The ward smelled of bleach and despair. Fluorescent hell for the fallen elite.
Me.
Wild-eyed and gaunt in a paper gown, lunged at the plexiglass. Give it back, thief. Orderlies wrestled her down. I signed the visitor log with a flourish.
Now.
With the confession viral, her release accelerated. The press framed it as redemption. Heiress turned state's evidence against self. Pundits on Fox debated privilege. CNN dissected dysfunction. I watched from Evelyn's leather armchair. Feet up. A glass of Napa Valley red warming my veins. But cracks formed. Dreams intensified, Evelyn's memories bleeding into mine like ink in water. Her first kiss behind the bleachers. Dad's approval like sunlight. My triumphs? Faded Polaroids in a drawer. And the side effects. Migraines that split skulls. Whispers urging surrender. Fight it. I'd gasp awake. Clutching the mirror shard I'd smuggled from the estate, a jagged reminder of the pact. Tom wouldn't quit. He cornered me outside the firm a week later, breath fogging the January chill. You're not her. Ev would never torch everything. His eyes searched mine, Evelyn's hazel. My fury beneath. I laughed. The throaty one. Maybe I'm better. Pushed him into a snowbank and strode away. Heels punching punctuation into the slush. The board meeting was next. A coliseum of suits in a high-rise overlooking Long Island Sound. Dad chaired. Diminished. Chemo sapping his roar. Evelyn's taken responsibility, he announced. Voice gravel. Will restructure. No charges if she resigns quietly.
Resign? Oh. Honey.
I stood, papers in hand. Actually, gentlemen, ladies, I'm confessing more. Projections flickered. Evelyn's offshore slush funds. Bribes to zoning boards for the Hamptons flip. Billions laundered through the firm. My doing. Pandemonium. Accusations flew. Dad clutched his chest. An ambulance wailing en route. As they wheeled him out, he grabbed my wrist.
Why?
For balance, I murmured. You taught us justice is blind. I'm just closing my eyes. He survived, narrowly, parked in a private suite at Yale New Haven. Monitors beeping dirges. Mom blamed stress. Not the daughter who danced on graves. I visited daily. Evelyn's poise a perfect veil. Feeding him jello while plotting the endgame. Valerie was released mid-January. Under heavy sedation and house arrest at the estate. I arranged the reunion sisterly. Supervised. She shuffled in. Eyes darting like a cornered fox. My old cardigan hanging loose on her frame. Ev, she croaked. Voice mine but mangled. Please. We sat by the fire. Guardians flanking like sentries. Tell them, I said softly. Tell them everything. She did, haltingly at first, then in floods. The frame job. The blackmail. The mirror wish she'd mocked but I dared. The room spun. Mom's horror. The lawyer's scribbles. Dad's remote gasp over speakerphone. Impossible, he wheezed. But evidence mounted, blood tests mismatched. Fingerprints swapped in the system. The swap was science's bastard child. Unexplained but undeniable. Pundits pivoted to conspiracy. CIA experiments? Witch hunts redux? Body swap canes trended. Memes of us as Freaky Friday felons. Evelyn, trapped in me, broke then, sobbing for reversal. I take it back. The wish. All of it. I leaned in, lips to her ear, my ear. Wishes don't work that way.
Sis.
But mercy might. The guardian noted the whisper. I smiled innocently. That night, I slipped the mirror shard under her pillow. Stare hard, I texted from a burner. Wish for justice.
She did.
Or tried. Alarms blared at 3 a.m., attempted self-harm. They said. But the shard was gone, bloodless. By morning, the swap held. Her pleas echoed unanswered. February thawed the Hudson, but not the family frost. Dad recovered enough for deposition. His testimony a dagger. Evelyn orchestrated it all. Charges piled, fraud, extortion, conspiracy. Her trial loomed like storm clouds over the Sound. I prepped as the star witness. Evelyn's wardrobe a armor of cashmere and cunning. But doubts gnawed. Was this justice or just vengeance in a pantsuit? Tom's texts pleaded meetings. We can fix this.
Val.
I know it's you.
How?
Intuition or infidelity's echo. The night before arraignment. Mom called. Come home, Evelyn. One last family dinner. For old times. Old times. The hook sank deep. I almost said no. Almost hung up on the plea in Mom's voice. That fragile filament tethering the Cain facade. But revenge is a serpent, coiled and patient. And I sense the strike moment approaching. Of course. Mother, I replied, Evelyn's silk threading the lie. What can I bring? Just you.
Dear.
And perhaps. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. The word tasted like ash on her tongue, but I swallowed it. The estate drive wound through budding dogwoods. March sun gilding the betrayal we'd planted here years ago. I parked the Tesla amid a fleet of audis, family convening. Wolves in wool. Inside. The air hummed with forced festivity, catered trays of sliders and shrimp. A string quartet murdering Vivaldi in the solarium. Dad held court from his armchair throne. Oxygen tube a scepter of frailty. Evelyn, he greeted, eyes wary as a cornered prosecutor's.
Sit.
We talk. Mom fussed with canapes. Her smile a tightrope walk. Tom lurked by the bar, nursing a highball, his gaze stripping layers I hadn't worn in months. No Valerie. She was prepping for trial in a halfway house, medicated into compliance. Her lawyers arguing diminished capacity via undiagnosed psychosis. We gathered around the coffee table, crystal clinking like chattering teeth. Dad cleared his throat. The wheeze a prelude.
This
Situation. The doctors say it's somatic delusion. Stress-induced. But the tests. He trailed off, glancing at the folder Mom clutched. Blood work. Psych evals. A chromatograph of chaos. They're wrong, I said calmly, selecting a deviled egg. It's real. I wished it in the mirror. To make her pay. Silence stretched, taut as a hung jury. Tom's glass hit the saucer with a crack. Bullshit. Mirrors don't swap souls. You're Evelyn. Always have been the Ice Queen. Ice Queen. If only he knew the fire raging beneath. Fueled by his betrayal. Those nights he'd whispered Ev in my bed, mistaking sisters for substitutes. I met his stare. Am I? Ask yourself why I ended it.
Tom.
Why I saw through your intern excuses before you packed. Mom gasped. Dad's monitors beeped faster. Enough, he barked. We're here to heal. Evelyn, Valerie, whatever the hell you are. Confess. And we fight the charges together. Plead out. Keep the name, the life. The offer dangled. Bait on a hook, Absolution for abdication. Stay as Evelyn. Let Valerie rot as the villain. Tempting, in the way hemlock passes for whorehound.
But no.
Heal. I laughed, the sound echoing off crown molding. You want a paper over the poison?
Dad.
You let her frame me, your blood, for your precious firm.
Mom.
You turned blind eyes to her tantrums, her thefts.
Tom.
You betted us both and blamed the mirror. Accusations landed like indictments. Mom wept into her sleeve, Dad's face mottled purple. Tom bolted, slamming the French doors, snowmelt splashing his retreat. Monster, Dad hissed. You've destroyed us. Not yet, I whispered, rising. But dinner served. I hadn't planned the reveal, not fully. Impulse, or the swap's dark alchemy, urged me on. From my purse, I pulled not dossiers but a tablet, cued to a hidden cam feed, the halfway house, Valerie's cell. She'd been coached subtly, via smuggled notes, to perform. The screen flickered, me, pacing, ranting to the lens. Evelyn's the thief. She's swapped us to escape. Dad knew, covered for her since law school. Gasps again, but deeper, primal. Mom clutched Dad's arm. Robert, is this true? He deflated, the confession spilling like bile. It was one time. A client bribe. Years ago. Evelyn handled it.
I
Looked away. The dam broke. Mom shrieked, hurling the folder, pages snowing secrets, more cover-ups. Infidelities. A family rotten as week-old relish. The quartet faltered, caterers froze mid-tray. I watched it burn, Evelyn's heart pounding mine. Satisfaction? Or sorrow? The line blurred, souls seeping like wet ink. Sirens wailed, Tom's 9/11. No doubt. Police swarmed, statements taken amid hysterics. I played the grieving sister, tear-streaked but steadfast. She's unhinged. Help her. By nightfall, Evelyn Kane was detained for psychiatric reevaluation, suspicion of fraud compounding the soul swap saga. The tabloids feasted. Kane sisters' demonic duel. Who wears the devil's skin? April bloomed amid the fallout. Dad suffered a relapse. Mom checked into rehab for stress. The firm dissolved in lawsuits. Assets auctioned like estate sale junk. Tom vanished to Florida. Rumors of a new therapy girlfriend. I holed up in the pied a terra. Evelyn's solitude a cage of silk. Dreams worsened, her memories dominating. My own fading to sepia. Waking, I'd trace the mirror shard's edge, tempted to wish reversal. But revenge whispered, not yet. The trial date loomed, State v.
Kane.
A circus of shrinks and spectral evidence. I prepped as prosecution's linchpin. Evelyn's poise my prosecutor's gown. But leaks surfaced, a blogger claiming the mirror's history. Murders tied to regret rituals in 1920 Chicago. Conspiracy nuts rallied, protesting outside the courthouse with signs. Souls don't lie, free Valerie. The first day, I took the stand, oath on a Bible that felt like fool's gold. The DA, a bulldog named Ramirez, led me through the script, embezzlement details, the frame, the delusion defense. Jurors leaned in, faces a jury of my peers, suburban moms, blue-collar dads, all hungry for the macabre. Then cross-exam, Evelyn's public defender, a weasel named Poole, grinning like he'd found the cheese. MS. Kane, or should I say, Valerie, tell us about the mirror. Objection overruled. I faltered. Evelyn's smirk slipping. Folklore. Nothing more. He produced the shard, how? Waving it like Excalibur. This folklore caused a swap? Convenient for the guilty party. The courtroom buzzed. Ramirez objected. The judge banged for order. But the seeds sprouted doubt, jurors whispering. Freak show. That night, alone, I smashed a glass against the wall, shards raining like judgments. Who was I becoming? Evelyn's cunning. My rage, a hybrid whore. Next session, Valerie testified, shackled and sedated, my face a mask of madness. It's her, in my body. Pool coach theatrics, she ranted, spittle flecked, about wishes and witches. The jury recoiled. Mercy or monstrosity? I slipped out for air. Courthouse shadows long in the spring dusk. Tom waited by the steps, gaunt and grizzled.
Val.
End this. For us.
Us.
The word ignited old fires. There is no us.
Tom.
You chose her first. He grabbed my arm, Evelyn's flesh. I chose wrong. But you're killing them. Yourself. His touch sparked, memory or magic. A jolt. Soul straining at seams. I wrenched free. Fleeing to the Tesla. Drove blindly, ending at the estate foreclosed, but unlocked. Up to the attic. Dust motes dancing in moonlight. The full mirror loomed, antique frame etched with regrets. I stared, willing the swap. Reverse it.
Now.
Nothing. Or everything. A whisper. Truth first. Dawn broke. Trial resuming. Verdict day. Not guilty by reason of insanity, for Valerie. Committed indefinitely. Cheers from no one. The courtroom emptied like a gutted fish. I drove to the facility, signing in as sister. Her cell, padded, peephole eyes. She pressed to the glass. My features feral. You won. Pyrrhic, I admitted, sliding the shard through the slot. Wish it back. She snatched it, staring. Seconds stretched eternities. Then agony. Fire in veins, bones grinding. The world inverted, I collapsed. Evelyn's body convulsing. When vision cleared, I was me again, Valerie, in paper scrubs, her laughter echoing from the other side. The swap reversed. But as orderlies rushed in, her Evelyn's voice crooned through the intercom, surprise. Sis. I kept the evidence. Your prints on the bribes now. Twist, she'd played me. During testimony, accomplices swapped docs. My revenge? Her gambit. The reversal hit like a freight train derailing in my soul, bones realigning. Skin shedding like a serpent's lie. Evelyn's essence sluicing out in a torrent of nausea and nostalgia. I retched into the cell's steel toilet, the acrid burn of bile mingling with a tang of freedom's aftertaste. Freedom?
Iromes crueliest.
The orderlies burst in, burly shadows in scrubs, syringes glinting like accusatory stars. Code blue. Patient seizing. But I wasn't seizing, I was surfacing. Valerie Kane. 32 and fraudulent no more. Gasping in a body that fit like a glove reclaimed from the lost and found. Through the haze, I saw her moments ago on the monitor, Evelyn's face serene in the visitor's log, already fleeing with the dossier that now damned me.
How?
The whispers during visits, the shard's subtle pass, She'd turn the tables, using my own weapon. While I'd orchestrated confessions, she'd whispered to lawyers, planted doubts, forged the final flip. The embezzlement? Her blueprint. But my execution in the endgame. Prints transferred via a handshake with a forger, alibis alchemized overnight. They sedated me, midazolam cocktail, dreams dissolving into custody. Waking in restraints. The shrink loomed, Dr. Ellis. All wire ins and Freudian frowns. Valerie or Evelyn. Let's unpack this morning's episode. As if my life were a sitcom rerun. It was her, I croaked, throat raw as sandpaper. She tricked me. Swapped back and ran. He nodded, pen scratching like judgmental claws. Classic projection. The sister narrative persists. Will up the Haldol.
No.
This was no delusion, it was daylight robbery. Souls swapped and swapped again. But proof? Vaporized in her wake. The mirror shard lay confiscated on his desk, innocuous as costume jewelry. By week's end, transfer papers arrived, back to the halfway house. Trial pending anew. The press had pivoted, Kane swap scam. Headlines howling heiress hoax. Sisters stunt for sympathy? Pundits pick sides. Evelyn the victim. Me the vengeful villain. Mum. Detoxed and distant. Issued a statement. We pray for healing.
Healing.
If only prayers packed the punch of a plea deal. Released under electronic anklet. I limped to the estate, foreclosed, but squatted by distant cousins who'd always eyed the silver. Cousin Lila, peroxide blonde with a realtor's gleam, greeted me at the door.
Val, so sorry about.
Everything. Coffee. Everything. The word encompassed empires crumbled. Love's lost. A lifetime laundered in lies. We sat in the den. Once Dad's sanctum. Now stripped of leather tomes and lies. Evelyn's gone, she said, stirring creamer with false sympathy. Vanished after the reversal. Dad's furious, says you're both dead to him.
Dad.
Last I'd heard. He'd decamped to a condo in Boca. Chemo complete, but trust terminal. Mom? Sunning in Scottsdale. Finding herself via yoga and young instructors. I sipped the joe. Bitter as betrayal. Help me find her. Please. Lila's eyes narrowed, calculating commissions. For a cut? Maybe. She's got that Hampton spot, unlisted, but I know a guy.
A guy.
The American underbelly fixers, forgers, friends with favors. By dusk, I had coordinates, a cliffside eyrie overlooking the Atlantic, Evelyn's bolt hole bought with blood money. Road trip south, anklet beeping like a jealous lover. I drove a borrowed Civic, Lila's gift, Interstate 95 a blur of billboards and bad memories. Tom called en route. Number blocked then unblocked in a weak moment. Val, Jesus. The news. You okay?
Okay.
The lie I lived. Peachy. Your ex is a fugitive soul thief. He laughed.
Hollow.
Always dramatic.
Meet me? Halfway.
Say. Stamford Diner. Stamford. Neutral ground. Ghosts of our marriage haunting the booths. Why not? Loose ends begged tying. The diner glowed neon against twilight. Pie slice signs promising Americana lies. Tom slid into the vinyl opposite. Older.
Where?
Wedding ring tan faded to phantom. You look. You. Flattery? Or fright? I stirred sugar into coffee. 6 packs, his old tell for nerves. Truth. He leaned in, voice low. I knew. About the swap. Felt it that night in March.
Knew.
The word detonated. And said nothing while she wore me like a Halloween mask. He winced. Thought it was grief. Your arrest. But the way she know. You looked at me. Wrong fire. Wrong fire. Poetic. For a philanderer. Why tell now? Because she's circling back. Heard from a buddy at the firm. Evelyn's lawyering up. Prepping countersuit. Claims you orchestrated the whole thing. Mirrors a prop. Frauds on you. Countersuit. The serpent strikes twice. I bolted, leaving him with a check and a crumpled napkin scrawled, burn in it. Hamptons by midnight. Fog rolling off waves like spectral applause. The airy perched on bluffs. Modernist glass and steel mocking the maelstrom below. Security. Laughable. A keypad I'd cracked in college. Evelyn's vanity. Codes were birthdays. Are shared. Inside. Minimalist hell. White walls echoing emptiness. She lounged on a sectional. Laptop aglow. Red wine stem in hand. My face, no. Hers now turned. Smirk blooming.
Val.
Knew you'd come crawling. Crawling. I stood tall. Anklet a defiant jangle. End it. Reverse for good. Or I expose the rest. She laughed. Throaty and true. Rest? The offshore trusts? Dad's second family in Curacao. She rose, circling like a shark in stilettos. You think you won? I let you play hero. The confession? My script. Bought time to reroute funds. Reroute. The betrayal deepened. A chasm.
Why?
We were sisters. Were. She sipped. Eyes glacial. You were the spare. Dad's favorite?
Me.
Until you started digging. The swap was mercy. Live my life. See how it fits. It didn't. Chafed like wool on wounds. The mirror. Wish it undone. She set the glass down. Deliberate. Wishes are wells.
Val.
One dip. And you're drowned. We faced the wall safe, her panic room. Holding the real dossiers. The shards twin. She punched code, our birthday, and it yawned open. Inside. Files. Flash drives. A full-length mirror fragment. Ornate as original sin. Stare, she mocked, echoing childhood dares. Wish. I did. We did. Hands clasped over glass. Souls straining. Agony anew, twisting, tearing. But midway, halt. Equilibrium. Neither yielding. Stalemate, she gasped, releasing. We're stuck. Hybrids.
No.
The mirror cracked, spiderwebbing truth. Visions flooded, not curse, but con. Dad's heirloom. A prop from his theater days. Laced with scopolamine hallucinogen. Swapped via spiked tea at the estate. No magic. Chemistry's cruel joke. You drugged me, I whispered. Horror dawning. Both times. Her grin faltered. Desperate measures. But effective. Effective. Until now. I lunged not for her, but the safe. Grabbed a drive. Bolted for the door. She pursued. Nails raking my arm. Her arm.
Once.
Cliffside chase. Fog swallowing screams. Stop. We can split it. Split. The American dream. Divide the spoils. But no. I hurled the drive over the edge. Into abyss. Data lost to waves. She halted. Wind whipping my hair. You idiot. That's everything. Everything. I echoed. Or nothing. Sirens wailed distant neighbors. Nosy as ever. She backed away. Eyes wild. This isn't over. Then leap. Not to see, but surrender. Hands up as blues closed in. It was her, she babbled to cops. She attacked.
Attacked.
The lie landed. I ran. Anklet shrieking alert. Hid in dunes till dawn. Hitching east to nowhere. Weeks blurred. Motels. Aliases. A waitress gig in Montauk slinging chowder to tourists. News trickled. Evelyn arrested for assault. Me fugitive. Dad's obit. Heart attack. Unvisited. Mom's silence. A tombstone echo. Tom found me in May. Diner off-season empty.
Val.
Come home. Home. The word hollowed. No home left. He slid a ticket, bus to California. Start over. With me.
Me.
The hybrid heart yearned, but wisdom warned. Goodbye, Tom. I boarded alone. Window seat to reinvention. Revenge? A mirror shattered. Reflections reformed. But in quiet nights, whispers lingered. Her voice in mine. Mine in hers. Stuck.
Yes.
But free? California swallowed me whole. Sun-baked sprawl from LA. Freeways to Big Sur's jagged embrace. A transplant's balm for East Coast scars. I ditched the anklet in a Reno ditch. Trading Kane for Vera Kane. A nod to the valor I'd lost and vaguely reclaimed. Waitressed at a beachside shack in Santa Cruz. Slinging fish tacos to surfers and Silicon refugees. Tips jingling like tentative hope. Months melted into routine. Dawn jogs along the tide pools. Evenings with dog-eared paperbacks under porch lights. No mirrors, aversion turned ritual. Reflections dodged in shop windows. Evelyn's memories faded, but lingered. Her craving for control. My thirst for truth. A cocktail corrosive as sea air. News from the old world came in drips. Podcasts dissected the Kane caper. True crime docs speculated on the sister switch. Evelyn's trial. Mistrial on technicals. Her released on bond. Vanished to parts unknown. Mom sold the estate. Proceeds to charity. Victims of familial fraud. Ironic laurel. Dad's will? Contested. But crumbs trickled west. A trust. Anonymous. Enough for a cottage by the waves. Tom wrote letters. Old school. Postmarked Orlando. I'm sober.
Sorry.
Find me if you want. I burned them on the shore. Embers dancing like fireflies of what-ifs. One equinox evening, as September gales whipped the Pacific into froth, a package arrived, no return. Brown paper crinkled like regret. Inside, the full mirror, repaired. Frame polished and a note in her script. Wish granted. Come collect.
Collect.
The hook tugged. Inevitable as undertow. I drove north. Coastal highway curving like a question mark, ending at a Monterey motel. Neon vacancy, a siren's wink. She waited in room 13. Evelyn Kane eternal. Sipping Chardonnay from a plastic cup. Thinner. Sharper. Eyes holding hurricanes.
Val.
Or Vera. Suits you. I entered. Door clicking judgment. What game now? No game. She gestured to the mirror, propped against peeling wallpaper. The truth. Full dose.
Truth.
The word weed weaponized. Now weary. She poured a second cup, drug-free. I checked. Dad confessed before. Everything. The curse. His invention. To scare us straight as kids. But the scopolamine? Real. From a firm case, experimental trial. Payoffs involved. Payoffs. The family rot ran marrow deep. Why tell me? Because we're the same now. She tapped temple. Memories merged. Your ethics. My edge.
It's
Exhausting.
exhausting.
Empathy flickered. Unbidden. Sisters. Swapped and scarred. Souls spliced in a cosmic edit. We stared into the glass, together, hands on frame. No wish, just witness. Reflections overlapped, Valerie's soft jaw, Evelyn's steely gaze. A chimeric hole. Reverse? I asked. She shook head. Irreversible. But release? Possible. Release. The word unlocked floodgates. Tears. Admissions. The decade's detritus. Her thefts born of inadequacy. Dad's shadow too long. My forgiveness? Hard one. But given. Over motel coffee at dawn. By morning. Plan hatched. Joint surrender. Call Ramirez. The DA. Spill the Splice saga. No souls. Just sins, fraud. Forgery. Familial fraud. Plea for leniency. Time served. Restitution. Cops met us at a taqueria in Carmel. Badges casual as the burritos. Evelyn, no. We recited the script. It was mutual. A breakdown. No swap. Just stress. They bought it. Cuffs ceremonial. Arraignment in San Francisco Fed Court. Headlines tame. Kane's sisters reconcile. Face charges together. Bail bonded. We walked out hybrids, hand in hand. Mom appeared, spectral in the gallery, hugging us both. My girls. No questions, just quiet. The firm remnants settled suits. Charity absorbing assets. Tom, a wedding invite from afar, his, to the therapist. I sent a toaster.
And signed.
We bought a split level in Oakland, Evelyn's ambition. My thrift, roommates in redemption. Therapy twice weekly, unpacking the merge. Mirroring exercises literal and lit. Christmas approached. First without Kane pomp. We hosted small. Mom. Lila. A few strays from the shack. Turkey roasted. Store-bought. Table set with paper plates. No toast to empire. Just gratitude. Gritty and real. As carols crackled on the radio, Evelyn raised her glass, me. Across the divide. To truths out. Out, I echoed. Forks clinked. Laughter genuine. But in quiet moments, the mirror, hung in the hall, harmless now, whispers. Was it happy? Or tragic? The swap stole selves, but forged something fiercer. Sisters. Unswapped. Unbreakable. Debate it if you will. Revenge's cost. Forgiveness's folly.
Me?
I paid for dinner that night, cash. No cards, and left no embarrassment. Only echoes of what was. And in the end, that's the American way. Messy. Merged. Moving on.